Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It is great to be with you on Saturday at 9:03 p.m. This is October 12th, 2024. And whether you're with me live at 9:03 p.m., 9:03 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., doesn't really matter. Thank you so much for being here. And before we get started, I just want to tell you what the master topic is for the week, and then give you a little bit of a preamble of what we're going to be doing this week. So, the power of prudence, making wise choices in a fast-paced world, Series 3, Show 42, Episode number 1. So, before we do get the show in full swing, I'd ask you to go grab your favorite delicious beverage, perhaps a snack, a healthy one like fruits, nuts, dates, or maybe not such a healthy one like chocolate, chips, or cookies, or something like that. All right, so go ahead and grab that. I'll be here so you can hurry back, I should say. Welcome to the Power of Prudence and Inspirations for Your Life, making wise choices in a fast-paced world. And I'm your host, Mr. John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, and I'm also a podcast coach. And we're going to dive into how prudence can reshape your approach to life and decision-making. We'll discover how this critical virtue impacts leadership, finance, relationships, ethics, and more. Join us to explore practical tips for cultivating prudence all week as we delve into historical roots and face the challenges of staying wise in today's fast-paced world. Today, we need to tune in to elevate your decision-making skills and live a more intentional life. Now, I want to tell you that I'm very grateful for the topic. Many of you know that I am a reader at my church on Saturdays and sometimes Sundays, depending on what it is. And I got the inspiration for this show, no pun intended, inspiration, right? By looking at the passage for tomorrow, which is a book of wisdom. And so it was all about prudence. So I thought this would be a perfect topic. So very grateful to be a reader, and very grateful to be finding inspiration from the Bible, which has been amazing. All right, so hurry on back. I know you're still kind of dilly-dallying over there. Come on back with the drink or the snacks, and let's get rolling, all right? So again, today is a preamble. We're going to talk about things that we're going to do this week. We're not going to go into every single point. But the first thing I do want to talk to you about is the origin of prudence. The origin of prudence. And when we think about, prudence, people say to me, John, where did the word prudence come from? And, that would be a great question. Prudence, is something that's been around with us for a very, very long time. It started around the mid-14th century. But where did prudence come from, and what was its root? And so prudence, in a nutshell, is the ability to govern and discipline oneself by use of reason. It's classically considered to be a virtue, and in particular, one of the 4 cardinal virtues. So the word is derived, as I said, from the 14th century, the Old French word prudence, which in turn derives from the Latin prudentia, meaning foresight, sagacity. It is often associated with wisdom, insight, and knowledge. You might have heard a popular company out there called Prudential, right? And this is a good question, is Prudential part of prudence? Because people already, I know, are asking me that. So yes, prudence has been the public face of Prudential, okay? And again, it's just a different form of it. So that's why that company got its roots. And so when we think about prudence, okay, although itself does not perform any actions or concern solely with knowledge, all the virtues are regulated by it. So that's what's important. In modern English, the word prudence has become closely associated with cautiousness. In the sense, prudence is a virtue that involves taking calculated risks, but excessive caution can become a vice of cowardice. So this is why one of the financial companies came up with that for their name, because you've got to sometimes move, and then you've got to move sometimes very carefully so you don't lose a nest egg, right? So, as prudence is called, quote, the mother of all virtues, prudence was considered by the ancient Greeks and later by Christian philosophers, most notably Thomas Aquinas, as the most measure and form of all virtues. It is considered to be the virtuum or character of virtues. It's mentioned in the fifth of the principal doctrines of the Epicurus and in his letter to Menicus, where he says, quote, prudence is the foundation of all these things and is the greatest good. Thus, it is more valuable than philosophy and is the source of every other excellence. So we're going to be talking all about it, but I thought before we could get started, we would talk about the definition of prudence, right? The definition of prudence. So, thinking about that, you're probably saying, gee, what does all this mean? And I think the real way to understand prudence is that it has its own, I'm going to call it its own little dichotomy. All right. And prudence does matter. I'm here to tell you that prudence does matter. But a lot of people don't realize that they have this little potential right under their nose. Okay. So understanding what prudence means, and now we know why it's considered a foundational virtue in decision making. That's really important. But prudence in decision making, we're going to talk about that tonight. How do we apply prudence to daily choices and balance risk and reward? Well, that's the multi-million-dollar question, right? So we have to look at what's there. We have to look at what we currently have. And if we take this, let's say, pathway or make this choice, what's the worst that could happen? Just to understand that. And what is that risk? If we take it, what's the best thing that can happen? So that's not to make you scared, but it is to allow you to take calculated risk, ladies and gentlemen. That is very, very important. And the next thing I want to talk about tonight is prudence in relationships, navigating personal and professional relationships with thoughtful consideration and care. So people often ask me, John, how do you be prudent in a relationship? Well, we can take a look at some of the qualities of relationships, right? Being fully present, regularly connecting with them, openly communicating, not getting lazy, keeping your relationship fresh, connecting physically, appreciating each other's perspective. When you argue constructively, or what I like to say is agree to disagree. And it doesn't have to be a really loud argument. You can just have a disagreement, but that can actually make the relationship stronger. Have realistic expectations and be true to yourself. I think a lot of people think that prudence is just something they're going to close their eyes and it's just going to just happen. No. So prudence is something that you need to embrace in life. Okay. So now that we know what it is, it's a judgment quality, right? But the question you might be asking, John, is so how, and this is a very good question, how do we apply prudence every day to our daily decisions? Like, how do we do that? It's practice. All right. It is absolutely practice. You can reflect on things. You can reason about certain things. You can get some foresight about where to go, even some circumspection. And then you can understand more of how to, let's say, navigate the waters or how to, steer your car or your plane or choose your vehicle, because now you have the lay of the land. And so when you get more familiar with prudence, it becomes like an autonomous skill, but it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen overnight. So you might be asking me, and this is a great question to ask, how do I develop prudence? And again, that's not an easy question. Okay. Not an easy question. But what I can tell you is you acquire the ability to make wise choices. You unwind and you compose yourself and you look at the present moment. You recognize the issue at hand. You, let's say, gather data and analyze it and see what are the alternatives if I don't make this choice. Um, what verdict should I go with? Uh, Take a problem solving approach with critical thinking to resolve different conflicts. Um, you know, understanding organization. When you practice prudence, it's important to do certain things first. And we'll learn about this as we get into the specific types of prudence. Um, it's important to know what resources you have and how they're being expensed and used, not just money. You need to be proactive and you need to consider and you need to be ready to make a change. You need to encourage, embrace. You need to do this in a respectful yet assertive manner. You need to engage in life and you need to not sit on the couch. You need to maintain a balance between one side and another side. Okay, it's okay to have a discussion. Okay. And I will tell you, it's important to know that when you do this, okay, you're able to move forward. So if you have a situation, don't put the situation off. Work on the situation now. My dad always said, don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today. And there's a lot of truth in that. That doesn't mean get everything you have to get done the whole week today. Doesn't mean that. It just means if you can get a little bit ahead, that's great. And I know with myself, for example, sometimes I want to take a meditation break, right? But sometimes I could take a very long break. So I'm like, let me do my work first, then I'll do my meditation, right? And I think sometimes, as I was telling you before, the body gives us more of a rest. Like today, I had got up very early. And when I sat down to do my meditation, I actually rested another half hour longer than the meditation was. And that's okay. I was prudent with my time. I was prudent with my body in making the choice that I needed to rest. And I think as we develop the skill of prudence, right, I think it'll become easier for you. So, this is the question, how do you become a master of prudence fast? Well, I've got to break it to you. There is no fast. Okay. You make wise choices, ladies and gentlemen, in place of things that maybe are not the way they should be. Okay. When you learn to be prudent, okay, you temper yourself. You have a chance to step back and not make a decision right away, right? You solve the challenges, you think critically, and don't have to make a split-second decision. You develop certain types of organization. You understand what open communication is. You approach things with a calm and respectful manner. It's not about the person. It's about their behaviors that maybe you want to discuss or your behaviors. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go, I do want to say thank you to all of you. My name is John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Do go ahead and see if my battery works, or I might have a dead battery, you guys can see. So I hope that you guys will check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations right there, guys. So you can catch my short form, my long form, and we just started doing this a few months ago where we take even our tech show, and we break it up into 3 or 4, let's say, attractive, attention-getting shorts, so you can decide which show it is you want to watch. Same thing with the show that you're watching here. Again, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. I'm really grateful that I got this topic of amazing content from the Bible, and very grateful to be alive, and grateful to be able to share my gifts with you guys here. So do help me out by visiting believemeachieve.com, like, love, and support all my great content. And I'll catch you guys on another show real soon. So have a great night, everyone. Be well.